Do you know why you keep losing in life? Because you're fighting, you're forcing, you're pushing. You're trying so hard to make things happen that you're actually making them impossible. You see a problem and immediately attack it with brute force. You meet resistance and immediately push harder. Someone challenges you and you immediately fight back. You think this makes you strong. It makes you weak. Because while you're exhausting yourself trying to force outcomes, there are people who are winning effortlessly. Not because they're smarter or more talented, because they understand a principle that's been hidden in plain sight for over 400 years. It's called Ju-Jitsu. And before you think this is about martial arts, let me stop you. Ju-Jitsu isn't just a fighting style, it's a complete psychology, a way of approaching every obstacle, every conflict, every challenge in your life. The literal translation is the gentle art, or the art of yielding. And here's what makes it terrifying. A 120-pound Ju-Jitsu master can destroy a 250-pound aggressive fighter without breaking a sweat. Not by being stronger, by using the opponent's strength against them, by yielding when the opponent expects resistance, by moving with force instead of against it. This same principle works in business, relationships, negotiations, and every area of your life where you're currently losing because you're trying too hard. Before I show you exactly how this works, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below one area of your life where you're forcing instead of flowing. I read every comment because understanding where you're stuck helps me create content that actually helps you win. This video exists because people keep asking me why their hard work isn't paying off. Now let me show you why effort without strategy is just exhaustion. Today I'm going to tell you about a man named Jason. Jason was 31 years old and he fought everything. His boss, his girlfriend, his family, the economy, life itself. Not physical fights, mental and emotional warfare. Every day was a battle, every conversation was a negotiation, every obstacle was something to overcome through pure force of will. Jason believed in hustle culture, Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, David Goggins. Push harder, work longer, outwork everyone, force your way to success. He woke up at 4:30 a.m. every day, worked 14-hour days, went to the gym even when he was exhausted, said yes to every opportunity, and still nothing was working. His business was struggling. He'd started a marketing agency 2 years ago and was working himself to death trying to make it succeed. He'd send 100 cold emails a day to potential clients. Maybe 2 would respond, and they'd ghost him after the first call. He'd create content constantly, posting on LinkedIn every single day, trying to force engagement. His posts got 15 views. He'd network aggressively at every event, handing out business cards, following up relentlessly. People stopped responding to his messages. The harder he pushed, the more resistance he met. It was like trying to run through a brick wall. He kept hitting it harder, expecting it to eventually break. It never did. He just kept getting more bruised. His relationship was dying the same way. His girlfriend, Emma, had been pulling away for months. Jason's response? Push harder. More date nights, more gifts, more declarations of love, more efforts to fix whatever was wrong. She pulled further away. Jason, you're suffocating me. I need space. So Jason gave her space by texting her every day, asking if she was okay and if they were okay. That's not space. That's anxious pursuit disguised as care. His family was the same pattern. His mother criticized his life choices. Jason defended himself aggressively, turned every family dinner into a debate, tried to prove he was right. The more he fought, the more she criticized. The more she criticized, the more he fought. An endless cycle that left everyone exhausted. One night, after another 14-hour workday that produced 0 results, Jason sat in his apartment and had a breakdown. Not the crying kind, the numb kind. The kind where you just stare at the wall and think, what's the point? He'd done everything right, according to the hustle gurus. He'd worked harder than anyone he knew. He'd sacrificed sleep, relationships, health, everything. And he was losing, badly. His business was failing. His relationship was ending. His family barely spoke to him. His bank account was empty. His body was breaking down. And the worst part? He had no idea what else to do. More effort hadn't worked. What was left? Jason had a neighbor named Kenji, Japanese guy, mid-50s, always calm, always seemed relaxed. Jason had always thought Kenji was just lazy or unmotivated. While Jason was grinding 14 hours a day, Kenji worked maybe 6 hours, went for walks, read books, seemed to spend half his time doing nothing. But here's what Jason noticed over time. Kenji's consulting business was thriving. Clients came to him. He never seemed to chase anyone. He worked less and earned more. His marriage looked effortless. His teenage kids actually wanted to spend time with him. Everything in Kenji's life seemed to flow, while Jason's life was constant friction. One evening, Jason saw Kenji sitting in the building's courtyard, just sitting, drinking tea. Jason was heading out to another networking event he didn't want to attend, but felt he had to. Something made him stop. "Kenji, can I ask you something? How do you make your business work without killing yourself? I'm working twice as hard as you and getting nowhere." Kenji smiled slightly. "You want to know the truth? You're losing because you're fighting. Sit down. Let me show you something." Kenji stood up and took a relaxed stance. "Push me, as hard as you can. Try to knock me over." Jason thought this was weird, but played along. He pushed Kenji's shoulder hard, but Kenji wasn't there. The moment Jason pushed, Kenji pivoted slightly, and Jason stumbled forward, off balance, nearly falling. "What just happened?" Jason asked. "I didn't resist you. I moved with your force. You pushed, so I yielded. Your own strength defeated you. This is Ju-Jitsu, the art of yielding. I didn't fight your push. I used it." Jason stood there confused. "What does this have to do with business?" Kenji sat back down. "Everything. You're approaching your business like a brute. You're forcing. You're pushing. You're trying to make clients say yes through volume and pressure, so they resist, they ghost you, they run away. You're creating the very resistance you're trying to overcome." This hit Jason like a punch to the stomach because it was absolutely true. "So, what should I do instead?" Kenji took a sip of his tea. "Come to my house tomorrow morning. I'll show you. But you have to be willing to unlearn everything the hustle gurus taught you." The next morning, Jason showed up at Kenji's house at 8 a.m. Kenji was in his home office, which was minimalist and calm. No motivational posters, no vision boards, just a clean desk, some books, and a sense of order. "Sit," Kenji said. "I'm going to teach you the 4 core principles of Ju-Jitsu psychology. These aren't just martial arts concepts. They're life principles. If you understand these and apply them, everything changes." Principle 1, Kenji explained, is Ju, which means flexibility or gentleness. In Ju-Jitsu, we don't meet force with force. We meet force with flexibility. When someone pushes, we don't push back. We yield. We redirect. We use their energy against them. In your business, you're pushing clients, sending 100 cold emails, following up aggressively. What happens? They resist. They see you as desperate. They pull away. What if instead of pushing, you created something so valuable that they came to you? What if instead of chasing, you positioned yourself as the prize they had to pursue? Jason started to understand. "So I should stop doing outreach completely?" Kenji shook his head. No, you should stop desperate outreach. There's a difference between strategic positioning and aggressive pursuit. Aggressive pursuit creates resistance. Strategic positioning creates attraction. When I started my consulting business 20 years ago, I didn't chase clients. I published one excellent article per month. That's it. The right people found me. Quality over quantity, attraction over pursuit. Principle 2 was kuzushi, which means breaking balance. In Ju-Jitsu, we don't attack when our opponent is stable and balanced. We wait for the moment they're off balance, then we act. In life, this means timing. You're trying to force outcomes when the conditions aren't right. You're pushing your girlfriend when she needs space. You're defending yourself to your mother when she's already decided to criticize. You're sending cold emails when potential clients aren't looking for what you offer. Bad timing creates resistance. Good timing creates results with minimal effort. This made Jason think about Emma. Every time he tried to have a serious conversation about their relationship, she'd just gotten home from work, stressed and tired. Of course, she pulled away. He was attacking when she was already off balance in the wrong direction. So, I should wait for her to be in a good mood? Kenji shook his head. You should stop trying to control the relationship through conversation. Create the conditions where she naturally wants to be close to you. Become interesting again. Have your own life. Stop making her the center of your existence. She'll either come back to someone worth coming back to, or she won't. Either way, you stop losing energy fighting for something that should flow naturally. Principle 3 was kokyu, which means breath or rhythm. In Ju-Jitsu, we match our rhythm to our opponent's rhythm, then break it at the right moment. We don't force our tempo on them. We flow with theirs until we see the opening. In business and relationships, this means deep listening and adaptation. You're so focused on your agenda, your pitch, your needs, that you're not paying attention to what the other person actually wants or needs. You're broadcasting, not receiving. Match their rhythm first. Understand their world. Then when you offer something, it fits naturally into what they already want. Jason realized he'd been doing the opposite of this in every area of his life. In his business, his cold emails were all about what he did and what he offered. They never mentioned what the client needed or wanted. In his relationship, conversations were about what he wanted to discuss, never what Emma needed to express. With his mother, he defended his choices without ever understanding why she was criticizing in the first place. He'd been fighting everyone's rhythm instead of flowing with it. Principle 4 was ma-ai, which means proper distance. In Ju-Jitsu, we maintain the correct distance from our opponent. Too close and we're vulnerable. Too far and we can't act. This is about boundaries and space. You're either too close, suffocating people with your need for control and validation, or you're too far, isolated and disconnected. Neither works. You need to find the distance where you can engage effectively without being desperate or detached. Kenji looked at Jason directly. Your problem isn't that you don't work hard enough. Your problem is you're using force where you should be using flow. You're fighting when you should be yielding. You're pushing when you should be positioning. This is why you're exhausted and losing. You're working against natural principles instead of with them. Jason decided to test these principles systematically. He created a 21-day experiment applying Ju-Jitsu psychology to every area of his life where he'd been fighting. Week 1 focused on his business and the principle of Ju, which is flexibility and yielding. Instead of sending 100 aggressive cold emails, Jason stopped all outreach completely. Instead, he spent the week creating one exceptional piece of content that demonstrated his expertise. Not a sales pitch, pure value, a detailed case study of how he'd helped a previous client triple their leads. He published it on Medium and LinkedIn with no call to action, no DM me for help, nothing. just excellent work. Day 3 of week 1, someone commented on the post asking questions. Jason answered thoroughly, still not selling anything. Day 5, that same person asked if Jason did consulting. Jason said yes and sent his rates. The person hired him on the spot. Jason had spent months chasing clients who never responded. The moment he stopped chasing and started attracting, a client came to him. This was Ju-Jitsu. He'd stopped fighting the market's resistance and started flowing with what the market wanted, which was proof of expertise, not sales pitches. Week 2 focused on his relationship using the principle of Ma-I, which is proper distance. Jason had been suffocating Emma with constant attention and anxious texts. For 1 week, he gave her actual space. Not cold shoulder space, not passive-aggressive space, real space. He stopped texting her unless she texted him first. He stopped trying to schedule dates. He focused on his own life, saw friends he'd been neglecting, worked on his business, went to the gym not as punishment but because he enjoyed it. Day 4 of week 2, Emma texted him asking what he was up to. Day 6, she asked if he wanted to get dinner. They had the most natural, relaxed conversation they'd had in months because Jason wasn't trying to force connection. He'd created the space for it to happen naturally. Week 3 focused on his family using the principle of kuzushi, which is breaking balance through timing. Instead of defending himself every time his mother criticized him, Jason did something different. He listened. He asked questions. "Mom, why does my business choice bother you so much?" Instead of defending, he was genuinely curious. His mother, caught off guard by not meeting her usual resistance, actually opened up. She admitted she was worried about his financial security because his father had failed at business and it had devastated their family. She wasn't criticizing Jason. She was projecting her fear. Once Jason understood this, the dynamic completely changed. He stopped fighting her criticism because he understood it wasn't really about him. He validated her fear, explained his safety nets and backup plans, and the criticism stopped. Not because he'd won an argument, because he'd removed the resistance that was fueling the conflict. This was Ju-Jitsu. He'd yielded to her emotional state instead of fighting it, and by yielding, he'd redirected the entire energy of the relationship. 6 months after learning Ju-Jitsu psychology, Jason's life looked completely different. His business had 5 consistent clients, all of whom had found him through his content or referrals. He was working 25 hours a week and earning more than he had working 70 hours. His relationship with Emma had either healed or ended. He couldn't tell which yet, but the desperate, suffocating energy was gone. They were either moving toward something healthy or apart peacefully. Either outcome was better than the anxious prison they'd been living in. His relationship with his mother was the best it had been in 10 years. Not because he'd changed her, because he'd stopped fighting her. But here's what really transformed. Jason's entire nervous system had calmed down. He wasn't in constant fight mode anymore. He'd spent years believing that life was a battle and the hardest fighter won. Ju-Jitsu had taught him the opposite. Life is a flow, and the smartest navigator wins. Force creates resistance. Flexibility creates results. This wasn't about being passive or weak. It was about being strategic. A Ju-Jitsu master can destroy an aggressive opponent, but they do it by using the opponent's aggression against them. They don't meet force with force. They meet force with intelligence. One day, Kenji asked Jason, "What's the most important thing you learned?" Jason thought for a moment. "I learned that I was creating most of my own problems by fighting. My business struggled because I fought the market instead of serving it. My relationship suffered because I fought for control instead of creating connection. My family was dysfunctional because I fought every criticism instead of understanding it. The moment I stopped fighting and started flowing, everything got easier. Not because life got easier, Because I got smarter. Kenji nodded. That's Ju-Jitsu. Now you understand why it's called the gentle art. It's not gentle because it's weak. It's gentle because gentleness is often the most devastating force. When you stop resisting reality and start working with it, you become unstoppable. Not because you're forcing outcomes, because you're aligning with natural principles. The river doesn't fight the rocks in its path. It flows around them. Over time, the river wins, not through force, through persistence and flexibility. A year after his transformation, Jason went back to Kenji to thank him. You saved my life. I was destroying myself with effort. You showed me how to win without fighting. Kenji smiled. I didn't teach you how to win without fighting. I taught you how to choose your battles. Jiu-Jitsu isn't about never fighting. It's about fighting only when fighting is the most efficient path. Most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, yielding, redirecting, and positioning are far more effective. But sometimes, when the moment is right, when your opponent is perfectly off balance, you strike with total commitment. That's the ultimate principle. Effortless 99% of the time, total force 1% of the time. Jason understood. He'd spent years applying 80% effort to everything and getting nowhere. Now he applied 20% effort most of the time, watching, positioning, flowing. And when the perfect moment appeared, when a client was ready, when Emma was open, when his mother was receptive, he acted with total clarity and commitment. This is what the hustle gurus never understood. They taught constant force. Jiu-Jitsu teaches strategic force. They taught pushing through every obstacle. Jiu-Jitsu teaches going around most obstacles and through only the right ones. They taught that hard work beats everything. Jiu-Jitsu teaches that smart work beats hard work every single time. Kenji said one last thing that Jason never forgot. The master doesn't fight harder than the student. The master fights smarter. The master sees what the student doesn't see. The master acts when the student is still preparing. The master wins before the fight begins because the master has positioned everything perfectly. This is Jiu-Jitsu psychology. You don't win through effort, you win through understanding. And once you understand how force works, you rarely need to use it. Your positioning does the work for you. Now I'm going to give you the same framework that changed Jason's life. The 4 principles of Jiu-Jitsu psychology applied to your everyday battles. First, identify one area where you're forcing instead of flowing. Your business, your relationships, your health, your finances. Somewhere you're pushing hard and meeting constant resistance. That's where you apply these principles. Principle 1, Ju, which is flexibility. Stop pushing. Start attracting. Instead of chasing clients, create something valuable that makes them come to you. Instead of forcing conversations in your relationship, create conditions where connection happens naturally. Stop meeting force with force. Meet force with flexibility.